Hi everyone, my name is Izzy Lambert and today I'm going to be reading you a story I wrote about a salamander and his very special connection to trees. And this story is called Sammy the Savvy Green Salamander, a journey through his home and life. As we go through this story, there's going to be some questions for you guys to stop and talk about. Maybe think about different ways that you can relate to Sammy as well as trees. Hi everyone! My name is Sammy the Salamander. Come along with me to learn more about me and my home. I am a green salamander, and I live in the mountains in North Carolina. I have these really cool green speckles on my back that almost look like moss. This is especially helpful for me because I live near lots of different mossy rocks and trees. My eyes are a bronzy color, my speckles are green, and my body is black. So our first question is, why do you think it's important that my pattern helps me blend in with my environment? I don't know if you guys have heard of the word environment before, but your environment is just the space that you live in and all the non-living and living things that are with you. For me, my environment is the mountains, trees, soil, and mossy rocks and trees. For you guys, your environment might be your house, your parents, brothers and sisters, or even your pets. So why is it important that my pattern helps me blend in with my environment? Maybe you guys thought of the importance of camouflage. Have you heard of camouflage before? Camouflage is just using your coloring or pattern in order to blend in with your environment in order to avoid being eaten. The black and green pattern is my form of camouflage that helps me blend into my surroundings. This is important for hiding from other animals that might want to eat me. I must say, I'm pretty rare and hard to find. This is because I have a really cool feature where I don't have any lungs. You know how you guys will breathe in through your nose and take in air? That air goes into your lungs in order to transport oxygen to all the parts of your body. Instead, I have skin that is so thin that water and oxygen can just enter it. However, this means I have to stay very moist because my skin absorbs more oxygen this way. Because of this, I hide during the day and will adventure at night instead. So our first question for this page is, what do you think I mean when I say that I'm rare? When you think about what rare means, it could be helpful to think about the opposite, so something very common. Think about a squirrel and how there are a lot of them around North Carolina, but they are always out and easy to find during the day too. I'm very different from a squirrel because there aren't many of me, and also I'm very hard to find. I'm always hiding during the day, so you would have to be very lucky to see me. Our second question for this page is, if I have to stay very moist, why do you think it's important that I'm hiding during the day and coming out at night instead? We also brought up some very important words before, like oxygen. And oxygen is a very important gas that's in the air that I and you guys need in order to survive. You guys have lungs, so you can breathe in through your nose, and maybe try taking a deep breath right now. So breathe in and out. And when you breathe in that air, it goes into your lungs and then it's transported, which just means move. So it's moved all throughout your body, to your arms and hands, your legs and feet, and up to your head. I don't have lungs, so instead I have to breathe through my skin. And I have to stay very moist, which just means wet. So I just have to stay very wet in order to take in as much oxygen as possible. So if it's important for me to stay moist, why would it be important for me to adventure at night instead of the day? Well, maybe you thought of the sun and how that could dry me out. Hiding from the sun is a good way to make sure I stay nice and wet. Also, if I'm only coming out at night, I could spend my day in a hideout that's also wet, like rocks by a creek or hiding in a tree with some wet leaves. Doing these things helps me make sure that I stay extra moist and can breathe well. Think about how strange it would feel for you to breathe through your skin like I do. I've never had lungs before, so it would be just as strange for me to breathe through lungs like you guys. My favorite foods are bugs, snails, and worms, which I find when I'm out exploring on the forest floor or near creeks. I also have these really cool square toes that help me climb rocks and trees. The square shape is helpful because it allows me to get a better grip on things when I am climbing. So our question for this page is, why do you think it would be helpful for me to climb rocks and trees? Maybe take a minute to look at your own fingers and toes and notice how they're round. This makes it especially hard to try and grab flat surfaces like the floor or a wall. Maybe you could try to grab the floor right now if you're sitting on it. Because my toes are square instead of round, this helps me get a better grip on things when I'm climbing. And why would this be important? Maybe you thought about how important this would be for me to run away from animals that want to eat me, or being able to search on rocks and trees for food, or even finding a home in a rock or tree. Trees are really important to me. I live in them, I climb them, I search them for food, I hide in them, and when they get old and fall over, I use those as homes too. I don't know what I would do without them. So our first question for this page is, what do trees mean to you guys? Is there a tree that you really love in your front yard? Or a tree that you love to climb? Or maybe there's a tree at a park that you really like. Or maybe you love autumn when the leaves change color and fall. Or maybe you don't think about trees at all. These are all great answers, as trees could mean very different things to many different people. So our second question for this page is, do you think trees help you in any way? So is there any way you could think about how trees help you? For me, trees are really important and provide me with so many things. Like we just talked about, I use them to find food, like ants and other bugs, and I use them to find homes, and I use them to hide in. For you guys, maybe you thought about how trees provide you with shade during a really hot day, or food like apples, or maybe other things like paper or firewood. These are all great answers, but trees could also provide us with other important things, such as oxygen, like we talked about earlier, and also clean air and clean water. However, there have been more and more trees disappearing, and I'm getting really worried. I'm scared my home will be next. So our first question for this page is, when's the last time you saw a lot of trees get cut down? Maybe you guys have seen a construction site lately where a new store, parking lot, or shopping center was being built. Or maybe you had to cut down a tree in your own yard. For this answer, maybe you thought about trees getting cut down in your neighborhood in order to make space for something. Or maybe some trees fell over during a storm and then they had to get cut down. These are all good answers, and there's a lot of different places you could see trees disappear. So our second question for this page is, how do you think it affects other animals like me when these trees disappear? So how does this affect animals like me who live in these trees? Like I mentioned, I depend on trees for so many different things, like food, my home, and staying moist and cool. Just like me, many other animals depend on trees for many different things in order to survive. Just think about birds and how important it is for them to be able to make nests in trees. If we lose our homes in trees, we would have to go find new ones. And if we can't find new ones, we might not be able to survive. If my home does end up disappearing, I can always move to another. But if there are no trees left, then what will I do? So our first question for this page is, how would you guys feel if your home disappeared? I'm sure you guys would feel a lot of different things if your home were to disappear. I know I would be so scared because I loved my home and I used it for so many different things. I would also be very sad and even very angry because now I have to find a brand new place to live when I love the one I already had so much. And I'm sure you guys would feel the exact same way. Homes are a place where we feel very safe. So my second question for you guys is, what would you do if your home were to disappear? I know if my home were to disappear, I would have to go find a new one, and I'm sure you guys would do the same. But what if that brand new home disappears, and so you move again, and then that brand new home disappears, and it happens again and again? That's exactly what happens to animals like me. When trees keep disappearing, homes keep disappearing, and then there's nowhere left to go, and we might not be able to survive. If you care about me and my home, you should care about yours too. Let's help each other just like trees help us. So our first question for this page is, can you think of any ways you can help trees and animals like me? I love to explore. It's my favorite way to learn. You could try exploring nature too. Maybe you have a favorite animal that you love to learn more about. You could always learn more about it through videos, books, going online, or just spending time outdoors and observing them. Learning more about animals and the best ways that you can help them is the first step. It could also be helpful to plant trees. We have been talking so much about how trees are so important, not just for me, but you guys too. Making a habit of planting trees in your yard or community will be a great way to help provide more habitat for animals. So our second question for this page is, what do you think our world would be like without trees? So just for a minute, try to imagine what the world would be like without trees. What do you think it would feel like? And what do you think the earth would look like? Maybe you imagined a desert because it would be so empty. Without trees, we wouldn't have as much oxygen in the air, and it would be very hard to breathe. We've talked about all the things trees provide both me and you guys, like food, shade, wood, paper, and clean air and water. But there's so much more trees provide us that we haven't even talked about. We mentioned trees providing clean water, and they do this by acting as a filter. Maybe you've seen your parents use coffee filters in the morning. They put the coffee grounds in the filter, and when they pour water, only the coffee comes out and the grounds stay stuck in the filter. Trees act similar to this. So when bad toxic chemicals come in through the soil, the roots will filter them out in order to keep the environment clean and healthy for other plants and animals. Additionally, the roots are very important and they keep soil trapped down and they make sure dirt doesn't move around, so when it rains or is really windy, it stays put. Not to mention, trees generally make us happier. Maybe you've noticed when you spend time outside in your yard, on a walk, or on a hike that you feel happier, calmer, and more peaceful. So trees are not only important for all the science-related reasons that we've talked about, but they also are important for our mood and how we feel. Thank you guys so much for joining me on this journey. I had so much fun giving you guys a sneak peek into my life. I'll see you next time. The end.